The silence comes first. Inquisitor Mordian Vex notices it 3 hours into his shift aboard the orbital monitoring station Vigil Eternal, when the routine astropathic pulse from Tartarus 7 fails to arrive. His augmetic left eye clicks as it refocuses on the chronometer, 1347 Terran Standard. The pulse should have come at 1315, as it has every day for the past 4 centuries. He adjusts his position in the command throne, servoskulls drifting around his head like metal prayer beads. The leather of his inquisitorial rosette creaks against his chest as he leans forward, studying the hololithic display that maps the Outer Rim territories. Green runes mark compliant worlds. Amber indicates minor disturbances. Red signals rebellion or Xenos incursion. Tartarus 7 shows green. But the silence screams louder than any alarm. Acolyte Korath, he says, his voice cutting through the perpetual hum of machinery. Verify astropathic logs for Sector Ultima. Senna Korath looks up from her station, young face pale in the blue glow of data screens. She's barely 20 standard years, chosen for her psychic sensitivity and absolute loyalty to the throne. Her fingers dance across runic keys with practiced efficiency. Confirming irregularity, my lord, she reports, strain creeping into her voice. Tartarus 7 missed scheduled transmission. Also, Mordian Sigma and Golan Prime show delays. Vex's jaw tightens. 3 systems. In his 40 years serving the Ordo Hereticus, he's learned that patterns are prophecies written in blood and silence. Expand search parameters. Check all worlds in the Ultima Segmentum Outer Rim. The data comes slowly, each negative report adding weight to the growing dread in Vex's chest. 7 worlds silent. 12 running behind schedule. The furthest, Krieg Delta, hasn't transmitted in 6 days. Sir. Koratha's voice wavers. I'm detecting some kind of interference pattern. Vex rises from his throne, ceramite boots ringing against the metal deck plates. The augmetic eye embedded in his left socket whirs as it shifts to maximum magnification, scanning the tactical display. His human eye waters from the strain of processing parallel visual feeds. Show me. The hologram shifts, displaying astropathic wave patterns across the sector. Where there should be the regular pulse rhythm of Imperial communications, jagged wounds of static tear across the projection like claws. But it's not random, there's a path, a trajectory moving steadily inward toward the galactic core. Toward Terra. Emperor preserve us, Korath whispers, making the sign of the Aquila across her chest. Vex feels ice forming in his veins despite the station's oppressive heat. In the display, something is carving a path of silence through Imperial space, and whatever it is moves with purpose. Not the scattered raids of Orc Waifs or the calculated strikes of the Tau. This is something else entirely. The communications array crackles to life, emergency frequencies flooding the command center with desperate voices, entire planetary defense grid offline in minutes, green light, impossible green light consuming everything, hundreds of Space Marine chapters mobilizing toward, cannot be stopped, repeat, cannot be, static swallows the transmissions. In the sudden quiet, Vex can hear his own heartbeat, augmented by the bionic components threaded through his ribcage after a Chaos cultist's poisoned blade nearly claimed his life on Vaxhall. My lord. Koratha's hands shake as she adjusts frequency dials. I'm receiving fragmentary astropathic broadcasts from the Outer Rim survivor ships. But the signatures are wrong. The psychic resonance is tainted with something I've never encountered. Vex moves to her station, close enough to smell the sacred oils in her hair and the ozone scent of her psychic hood's activation. On her screen, wave patterns writhe like living things, pulsing with an alien rhythm that makes his augmetic eye stutter and spark. What do the survivors report? Devastation, my lord. Complete. They speak of. She pauses, consulting her notes with trembling fingers. A green giant that falls from the void. Worlds consumed by rage made manifest. Entire systems going dark after single encounters. Vex studies the tactical display again, noting how the silence spreads in a perfect line toward Terra. Whatever this entity is, it's not randomly destroying worlds, it's heading home. The thought chills him more than the void between stars. Priority Alpha communication to the Administratum, he commands. Full tactical briefing required for the High Lords of Terra. And Koroth? Yes, my lord. Begin evacuation protocols for this station. Whatever's coming, I suspect we're directly in its path. As if summoned by his words, the long-range sensors begin shrieking warnings. Something massive has just translated from warp space at the edge of the system, its psychic wake so violent that 3 astropaths on the lower deck simultaneously collapse, blood streaming from their enhanced eyes. Through the reinforced viewport, Vex sees a star flicker and die. The silence spreads, and in its wake, something green and terrible draws closer to the heart of the Imperium. Vex must choose, flee with the evacuation, preserving his life to fight another day, or remain at his post to gather what intelligence he can about this approaching apocalypse. His hand hovers over the evacuation klaxon, ceramite fingers steady despite the fear coursing through his enhanced nervous system. Around him, servoskulls continue their endless patrol, their red optical sensors like dying stars in the dimming command center. The choice will define everything that follows. In the distance, something roars with the fury of dying worlds, and the sound carries across the void like a promise of ending. The last age of the Imperium has begun, though none yet know it. The silence spreads, and Terra waits, unknowing, for the rage that comes to claim it. Vex's hand falls away from the evacuation klaxon. Duty outweighs survival, it always has in the service of the Golden Throne. He will stay, observe, and bear witness to whatever horror approaches Terra's gates. Koroth, maintain all recording protocols. If we die here, our data must survive. Yes, my lord. Her voice steadies with purpose, fear transformed into imperial resolve. The long-range augury arrays shriek again as more contacts translate from the warp. But these aren't threats, they're imperial vessels, running hard for Terra with every engine burning. Vex counts 17 ships, their transponder signals ragged with desperation. The first to achieve stable Vox contact is the light cruiser Defiant Dawn, her hull scarred by weapons fire that leaves geometric wounds in the adamantium plating. Captain Forlak's face appears on the main display, half his skull replaced by crude augmetics, fresh burns covering the visible flesh. This is Captain Forlak to any Imperial authority. We carry survivors from the Mordian cluster. Requesting immediate audience with the High Lords of Terra. Priority Omega. Priority Omega. Vex has never heard those words spoken outside of theoretical briefings. The classification reserved for threats to the very existence of the Imperium itself. Captain Forlak, this is Inquisitor Vex of the Ordo Hereticus. Transmit your report immediately. Forlak's remaining eye widens at the mention of the Inquisition. My lord, we witnessed. Emperor preserve me, I lack words. A single entity destroyed the entire Mordian system in less than 6 hours. 7 billion souls, 3 Space Marine chapters, the entire PDF, gone. Describe this entity. Green-skinned, massive beyond comprehension. It fell from orbit like a meteor and grew angrier. The more we fought it, the stronger it became. Bolter rounds bounced off its hide like raindrops. Melta bombs barely scorched its flesh. It laughed, my lord. It laughed as it tore land raiders apart with its bare hands. Vex feels his augmetic eye stutter as it processes the impossible data. No single creature possesses such power. Even greater demons fall to concentrated Imperial firepower. Navigation report, Captain. How did this entity travel between systems? That's the terrifying part, my lord. It doesn't use ships. Navigator Quintus detected its warp wake as it jumped through space itself. The psychic signature was unlike anything in our records. Pure rage given form, tearing holes in reality through sheer fury. The display shifts as more survivor ships arrive, each carrying similar tales of devastation. The pattern emerges with horrifying clarity, a single entity moving from system to system, leaving nothing but corpses and silence in its wake. But Vex notices something else in the reports. Something that chills him more than the accounts of slaughter. Korath, cross-reference these testimonies with archival data on pre-imperial legends. Focus on entities associated with uncontrolled rage. Her fingers fly across runic keys, accessing databanks that stretch back to the dark age of technology. After several minutes, she looks up with haunted eyes. Sir, there are fragmentary references to something called the World Breaker in ancient Terran mythology. But more concerning. She pauses, checking her data twice. The Librarium Hereticus contains sealed reports from Inquisitor Cryptman. References to similar entities from beyond our galaxy, creatures that feed on violence and grow stronger through conflict. Tyranids? No, sir. Something else. Something the Tyranids fled from. The thought hits Vex like a plasma bolt to the chest. The Tyranids, the great devourer that consumes galaxies, running from something. His augmetic eye begins recording frantically, capturing every detail of this revelation. Another Vox transmission cuts through his thoughts. Navigator Quintus from the Defiant Dawn, his voice thick with the nasal drawl common to his Navigator House bloodline. Inquisitor, I must report additional warp phenomena. As this creature moves through space, it's changing things. The warp currents in its wake pulse with an ancient rhythm. My third eye shows visions of brass and blood, of a skull throne laughing with delight. Corn. The blood god takes interest in this creature's rampage. Vex's hand moves instinctively to the blessed bolt pistol at his side, though he knows such weapons will prove useless against what approaches. Furthermore, Quintus continues, there are disturbances in the deep vaults of Terra itself. Sacred relics are stirring. Weapons that have slept since the Horus heresy now pulse with malevolent life. Senna Korath gasps beside him. My lord, I'm receiving astropathic pulses from Terra's surface. The choir telepathica reports. Impossible visions. A green giant walking among golden halls, leaving only corpses and silence. Prophecy or warning, Vex cannot tell. But the psychic screams of Terra's most gifted seers paint a picture of approaching doom that makes his enhanced heart skip augmetic beats. The tactical display updates with new contacts, not fleeing survivors, but Imperial reinforcements racing to Terra's defense. Battle barges of the Imperial Fists. Escort squadrons from Segmentum Solar. The personal fleet of Captain General Valoris himself, racing back from the outer reaches where he'd been inspecting fortress worlds. But will it be enough? The survivor testimonies suggest conventional warfare is useless against this entity. Each attempt to fight it only feeds its rage, making it stronger. Sir. Koratha's voice barely registers above the cacophony of incoming transmissions. I'm detecting massive energy signatures from Terra's surface. The planetary defense grids are powering up. Orbital weapons platforms activating across the system. Through the viewport, Vex watches ancient defense stations that have slumbered for centuries suddenly blaze with angry light. Terra prepares for war, its sleeping guardians roused by the approaching threat. But deep in his enhanced mind, behind cortical implants that process data faster than human thought, Vex runs calculations. The entity's power seems to scale infinitely with opposition. The more Terra fights, the stronger their enemy becomes. They are feeding the beast they hope to destroy. A new transmission crackles across emergency frequencies, priority alpha from the Adeptus Custodes themselves. Captain General Valoris's voice cuts through the static like a blade. All Imperial forces, this is Valoris. The Emperor's own guardians have felt the disturbance in the warp. Whatever approaches Terra carries the stench of the archenemy. Chaos stirs in the deep places, awakened by this creature's rage. We face not merely a physical threat, but a spiritual one. The very foundations of reality weaken with each world this beast destroys. The pieces click together in Vex's augmented consciousness. This entity isn't just destroying Imperial worlds, it's creating warp rifts, weakening the barriers between reality and the realm of chaos. With each act of violence, each display of limitless rage, it draws the attention of the dark gods themselves. Emperor's blood, he whispers, understanding flooding through him like ice water. It's not just a weapon. It's a key. Korath looks up from her station, young face pale with dawning horror. My lord. The creature isn't trying to conquer the Imperium, Acolyte. It's trying to break it. To shatter the barriers that keep chaos at bay. Each world destroyed weakens reality itself. As if summoned by his words, the deep-range sensors detect a new contact, massive, moving faster than any ship, heading directly for Sol System. The psychic wake it leaves burns through space like a scar across creation itself. The world breaker comes to Terra, and in its wake, the very gates of hell prepare to open. The High Lords of Terra convene in emergency session 47 minutes after Vex transmits his analysis to the Adeptus Administratum. Through secure Vox channels, he listens to 12 of the most powerful humans in the galaxy debate the fate of their species. Lord Commander Militant Garen's voice crackles with static. Conventional strategy demands we intercept this threat before it reaches Terra. Every hour of delay costs us defensive positioning. Fool. Grand Provost Marshal Kiran's contempt bleeds through the transmission. You heard the survivor reports. This entity grows stronger through conflict. Engaging it away from our prepared defenses only feeds its power. Then what do you suggest? Master of the Astronomicon Voss interjects, his psychically enhanced voice carrying otherworldly harmonics. That we cower behind Terra's walls while it carves through our outlying systems. Vex adjusts his position in the command throne, servoskulls recording every word. This debate will shape humanity's final gambit, if indeed it is their final gambit. His augmetic eye tracks energy readings from Terra's surface, watching ancient weapon systems charging for the first time in millennia. Captain General Valoris's voice cuts through the argument like a power sword through parchment. I have consulted the Emperor's tarot. The cards speak of endings and beginnings, of rage consuming gold, of silence following thunder. But also a pause, heavy with unspoken dread. Of opportunities born from catastrophe. Meaning, Lord Garan demands. This creature's approach may serve a purpose beyond our understanding. My custodian scholars have discovered references in the deepest archives, sealed records from the war in heaven itself. Entities like this one were known to the ancient races. They called them world breakers, champions of pure destruction that could shatter the boundaries between dimensions. Fabricator General Call's mechanical voice joins the chorus. If the creature's rage can indeed weaken reality's fabric, then engaging it near Terra poses catastrophic risks. A breach in the material realm at the heart of the Imperium would doom us all. Which is precisely why we must stop it beforehand, Lord Garan insists. Vex leans forward, his enhanced mind processing the tactical implications. Through the viewport, he watches Terra's orbital defense platforms arranging themselves in textbook formation, overlapping fields of fire, mutually supporting positions, concentrated firepower designed to obliterate invasion fleets. But this isn't a fleet. This is a single entity that laughs at concentrated firepower. Korath, he says quietly, access Terra's deepest archives. Search for any references to entities immune to conventional weapons. Cross-reference with Chaos Incursion protocols. Her fingers dance across runic keys while the High Lords continue their debate. Within minutes, she looks up with widening eyes. Sir, I found something. Classified beyond Omega clearance, but your inquisitorial codes override the locks. During the Horus Heresy, Magnus the Red summoned something similar, not the same entity, but the same type. A creature of pure emotion made manifest. The Emperor himself had to. Sir, the records are fragmentary, but it appears he was forced to use weapons that haven't been deployed since. Which weapons? The impossible engines, my lord. Devices from the dark age of technology, hidden beneath the Imperial Palace. Weapons that don't destroy matter, they edit reality itself. Vex feels ice form in his augmented spine. Weapons that edit reality. The Emperor possesses arsenal that could theoretically stop this creature, but at what cost? Using such devices near Terra could destabilize the entire system. Through the Vox, he hears the High Lords reach their decision. Motion carries, announces the Master of the Administratum. All available forces will intercept the threat at the edge of Sol system. If we fail, Terra's final defenses will engage. And if those fail, ask someone. Vex cannot identify the voice through the static. Silence stretches across the transmission. Finally, Captain General Valoris responds, then we pray the Emperor's mercy extends beyond death. The communication ends, leaving Vex alone with the sound of machinery and his pounding heart. Around him, the orbital station continues its ancient vigil, but now it serves as an observation post for humanity's potential extinction. My lord, Korath says, her voice tight with controlled panic. Long-range augury shows massive fleet movements. The entire Sol defense fleet is mobilizing. I count. Emperor's blood. Over 3,000 vessels. Through his augmetic eye, Vex watches the greatest armada in human history assembling at Sol's edge. Battleships that have guarded Terra since the Great Crusade, their hulls scarred by 10,000 years of warfare. Cruiser squadrons whose names are written in legend. Strike cruisers bearing the colors of every loyal Space Marine chapter that can reach the system in time. Power readings are off the charts, Korath continues. Nova cannons charging across the entire fleet. Lance batteries aligning for coordinated strikes. If concentrated firepower can stop this creature, this should be enough. But Vex has read the survivor reports. He knows that enough is a concept this entity transcends. The more violence deployed against it, the stronger it becomes. The assembled fleet isn't a solution, it's fuel for an increasingly unstoppable fire. His augmetic eye clicks as it refocuses on Terra's surface. Deep beneath the Imperial Palace, ancient systems stir to life. Machinery that predates the Imperium itself, awakening from 10,000-year slumber. The Emperor prepares weapons that could save or damn them all. Sir. Koratha's voice carries a new note of terror. I'm detecting warp disturbances throughout the system. Not from the approaching creature, these are emanating from Terra itself. Something in the deep vaults is responding to the threat. On her screen, psychic resonance patterns writhe like living things. The ancient cornate artifacts mentioned in earlier reports, they're not just stirring. They're awakening, drawn by the promise of cosmic violence approaching their prison. The blood god's gifts, Vex murmurs, understanding flooding through his enhanced consciousness. They sense their champion approaching. Champion, sir. This creature, it may not serve Khorne directly, but its actions serve his purpose. Every act of violence, every display of limitless rage, strengthens the blood god's hold on reality. And if it reaches Terra, he doesn't finish the thought. He doesn't need to. If the creature reaches Terra and engages the planet's defenses, the violence will be so catastrophic that it could tear the veil between dimensions entirely. The sealed Khornate artifacts will break free, and Terra itself will become a demon world. Through the tactical display, he watches the first elements of the Soul Defense Fleet taking position at the system's edge. Magnificent ships with proud histories, crewed by the finest sailors in the Imperium. They form battle lines that have protected humanity for millennia. And in the deep void beyond, something green and terrible draws closer, its rage building with each passing moment. Each second that brings it nearer to the inevitable confrontation that will either save the Imperium or destroy it utterly. Vex makes a decision that will haunt his remaining days. He opens a priority channel to the fleet flagship, Phalanx, where Captain General Valoris coordinates the defense. My lord, this is Inquisitor Vex with tactical analysis. The creature's power scales with opposition. Engaging it with the full fleet will only make it stronger. I recommend, your concerns are noted, Inquisitor, Valoris interrupts. But we have no choice. If we don't stop it here, Terra falls. The channel closes, leaving Vex staring at the greatest military force humanity has ever assembled, arrayed against an enemy that will grow stronger with each shot fired, each life lost, each act of desperate courage. In the distance, reality itself begins to buckle under the weight of approaching rage. The trap is set. The question is, who is the prey? The killing begins at 1432 Terran Standard, when the forward picket ship Righteous Vengeance achieves visual contact with the approaching entity. Vex watches through enhanced long-range augury as Captain Valdris transmits the first clear images of humanity's destroyer. The creature stands 3 stories tall, its green-skinned form rippling with muscles that seem to grow larger with each passing second. It doesn't fly through the void, it leaps, hurling itself across impossible distances through sheer physical force, the vacuum of space offering no resistance to its boundless fury. Emperor's blood, Captain Valdris whispers across the Vox. It's looking at us. Through his augmetic eye, Vex sees the creature's face turn toward the picket ship. Even across thousands of kilometers, the malevolent intelligence in those burning eyes is unmistakable. This isn't a mindless beast, it's a focused engine of destruction that has chosen its target. The Hulk's mouth opens in what might be a roar, though sound cannot carry through vacuum. But the psychic scream that accompanies it reaches every soul in the system. On Terra's surface, 1 billion citizens collapse as the creature's rage washes over them like a tidal wave of pure hatred. Fleet Command, Valdris reports, his voice tight with terror. It's accelerating. Estimated time to engagement, 7 minutes. Captain General Valoris's voice crackles across all frequencies, all vessels to battle stations. Prepare for coordinated strike pattern Omega 7. For the Emperor and Terra. The response thunders across the void as 3,000 ships acknowledge the command. Lance batteries swivel toward the approaching target. Nova cannons charge with enough energy to crack moons. Torpedo tubes flood with warheads blessed by the Adeptus Mechanicus. Vex grips his command throne's armrests, ceramite fingers denting the blessed metal. Everything about this feels wrong. The creature isn't taking evasive action, isn't deploying defensive screens or calling for reinforcements. It simply comes, as inevitable as entropy itself. Korath, monitor all psychic resonance patterns. I want to know exactly how this engagement affects the creature's power levels. Yes, my lord. Her fingers dance across runic keys, psychic sensors throughout the system focusing on the approaching entity. The first shots come from the outer defense perimeter, long-range lance strikes designed to test the creature's resilience. Coherent light beams capable of boiling cities strike the Hulk's center mass, their fury concentrated enough to vaporize any known material. The beams splash against green skin like water against stone. No effect, reports Captain Thorne of the battleship Eternal Vigilance. Switching to Nova Cannon bombardment. The massive weapons discharge in sequence, their projectiles accelerated to significant fractions of light speed. Each shell carries enough destructive force to level mountain ranges. The void fills with nuclear fire as the barrage impacts. When the plasma clears, the creature is not only unharmed, it's larger. Impossible, Valoris breathes across the command channel. Deploy all torpedoes. Concentrated bombardment, full spread. 1,000 torpedo tubes disgorge their blessed munitions. Cyclonic warheads designed to crack Fortress World streak toward their target in a cloud of death that could sterilize continents. The explosions bloom like newborn stars, their combined fury bright enough to be visible from Terra's surface. For a moment, hope flickers in Vex's enhanced heart. Then the creature emerges from the firestorm, and it's twice the size it was before. By the throne, someone whispers over the vox. Vex cannot identify the voice through the static of terror. It's feeding on our attacks. Korath looks up from her station, young face pale as parchment. Sir, the psychic readings are off the charts. Each weapon impact is making it angrier, and its anger is making it stronger. The energy curve is exponential. Through the tactical display, Vex watches the creature reach the main battle line. What happens next defies every law of physics and warfare he knows. The Hulk doesn't slow down. It crashes into the heavy cruiser Dominus Rex like a green meteor, its bare hands tearing through adamantium plating as if it were paper. The ship's plasma reactors detonate in a chain reaction that should vaporize everything within a kilometer radius. The creature shrugs off the nuclear fire and leaps to its next target. All ships, evasive maneuvers. Valoris shouts, but it's too late. The Hulk moves through the fleet like a predator through a flock, each destroyed vessel fueling its growth. Battle barges that have served for millennia crumple under its fists. Strike cruisers explode as it tears out their hearts. Sir, Koratha's voice shakes with horror. It's not just destroying ships. It's enjoying it. The psychic resonance shows pure joy mixed with the rage. It's having fun. Vex watches through his augmetic eye as the creature laughs while tearing the arms off a space marine battle barge. The sound doesn't carry through vacuum, but the psychic echo of that terrible mirth reaches every soul in the system. 20 minutes after engagement began, half the Sol defense fleet is gone. The survivors break formation, their proud discipline shattered by the impossibility they've witnessed. Some ships flee toward Terra, bearing warnings and wounded. Others make desperate ramming attacks, their captains choosing death over retreat. None of it matters. The creature has grown to the size of a frigate, its power scaling beyond any possibility of conventional defeat. It no longer needs to leap between targets, it simply reaches out with arms that stretch across kilometers, plucking ships from the void like fruit from trees. Fleet command to all vessels, Valoris's voice has aged decades in the span of an hour. General retreat to Terra orbit. Prepare final defensive positions. The remaining ships, barely a third of the original armada, limp toward humanity's homeworld. Behind them, the creature floats in a debris field that was once the Imperium's greatest fleet, feeding on the psychic resonance of 10 million newly dead souls. But something else stirs in the carnage. The massive violence has torn wounds in reality itself, and through these psychic rifts, other things begin to emerge. Demon spawn of Khorne, drawn by the scent of limitless rage. Lesser bloodletters that manifest from the creature's growing fury. The Hulk turns toward these new arrivals, and for the first time since entering Imperial space, it pauses. Recognition flickers in those burning eyes, not understanding, but acknowledgement. These beings are kindred spirits, fellow servants of violence and rage. One of the larger demons, a bloodthirster whose brass armor gleams with fresh gore, approaches the creature with something resembling respect. In the silence of vacuum, they communicate through pure psychic resonance, rage calling to rage, violence recognizing its own reflection. Emperor preserve us, Vex whispers as he watches the impossible alliance form. It's not just immune to our weapons. It's recruiting allies. The creature and its demonic escort begin moving toward Terra, their combined psychic wake tearing fresh holes in reality with each passing moment. Behind them, the void burns with warp fire that will not die, a permanent scar across the Sol system where humanity's greatest fleet met its end. Through long-range scanners, Vex watches Terra's orbital defense platforms powering up, ancient weapons that have guarded humanity's homeworld for 10,000 years. But after witnessing what just happened to the Sol defense fleet, he knows with cold certainty that conventional defenses will only make their enemy stronger. The creature approaches Terra with demonic allies at its side, its power grown beyond mortal comprehension through feeding on humanity's desperate resistance. And in the deep vaults beneath the Imperial Palace, sealed Khornate artifacts pulse with anticipation, sensing their moment of liberation drawing near. Korath, Vex says, his voice steady despite the horror they've witnessed. Signal the evacuation ships. We're leaving for Terra immediately. Sir. If I'm going to witness the end of everything, I want a front row seat. The station's engines fire, carrying them toward humanity's final bastion as the green apocalypse follows in their wake, laughing with the joy of infinite destruction. Terra's defense begins with prayer. As Vex's transport descends through the sacred world's atmosphere, he hears them, a billion voices raised in unified supplication to the Golden Throne. The ecclesiarchy has called for planetary prayer, and every citizen from the gilded spires to the deepest underhive responds. Their voices rise like incense, a psychic chorus that should strengthen the barriers between reality and the warp. Instead, it draws predators. Through the transport's armored viewports, Vex watches the orbital defense platforms that survived the fleet engagement moving into final positions. Ancient constructs built during the Great Crusade, their weapon batteries could level continents. But he's seen what conventional firepower achieves against their approaching enemy, nothing but fuel for its endless growth. Landing coordinates confirmed, reports pilot Servitor 7 Alpha, its voice a mechanical drone. Imperial Palace, Inquisitorial Priority Landing Zone. The transport settles onto a platform carved from blessed marble, surrounded by custodian guard whose guardian spears gleam in Terra's pale sunlight. Each warrior stands motionless as a statue, but Vex's augmetic eye detects the micro-movements of enhanced reaction times, the barely contained energy of genetically perfected killers preparing for war. Captain General Valoris himself waits at the platform's edge, his Auramite armor unmarked by the fleet engagement he survived. His face, scarred by 10,000 years of warfare, shows no emotion as Vex approaches. Inquisitor. Your analysis proved accurate. The words taste like ash in the Captain General's mouth. The creature grows stronger with each engagement. Our greatest fleet served only to prepare it for what comes next. What is our status, Lord Valoris? See for yourself. Valoris leads Vex and Korath through corridors that predate the Imperium itself, past murals depicting humanity's conquest of the stars. But now, for the first time in 10 millennia, those ancient victories feel like lies told by a dying civilization. They emerge onto the palace's highest observation deck, where tactical displays show Terra's final preparations. The planet bristles with awakened defenses, weapon systems that have slumbered since the Horus heresy now pulse with deadly energy. The Eternity Gate stands sealed, Valoris reports, gesturing toward the massive portal that guards the Sanctum Imperialis. 10,000 custodians hold the inner palace. The Sisters of Silence have broken their vows of verbal silence to coordinate psychic suppression fields across the planet. Through his augmetic eye, Vex scans the tactical data. Impressive numbers, legendary defenders, weapons that could sterilize star systems. Under normal circumstances, Terra's defenses could repel any conceivable invasion. But these aren't normal circumstances. The creature's power scaling suggests that our defenses will only accelerate its growth, Vex observes. Each weapon fired, each life lost in resistance, feeds its strength. Yes. Valoris's voice carries the weight of inevitable doom. But we are the Emperor's guardians. We do not yield, even to impossibility. A new voice joins their conversation, ancient, mechanically augmented, speaking in the binary cant of the Adeptus Mechanicus. Fabricator General Call approaches, his form a fusion of flesh and blessed machinery that defies easy categorization. The Omnisia's knowledge extends beyond conventional warfare, Call states, his optical mechadendrites focusing on the tactical displays. I have consulted the most sacred STCs, the deepest archives of the dark age of technology. There are weapons that do not feed this creature's power. Explain, Valoris commands. Devices that edit reality rather than destroy matter. Weapons that unmake existence itself rather than applying force. The Emperor possesses such instruments, sealed beneath the deepest vaults of the palace. But their use carries consequences. Vex feels ice form in his augmented spine. Weapons that edit reality, the same impossible engines Korath discovered in her research. Technology from humanity's golden age, when mankind briefly rivaled the gods themselves. What consequences, he asks. Call's optical sensors flicker with data streams. Usage near Terra could destabilize the entire system. The planet itself might be edited along with the target. Additionally, such weapons would certainly attract the attention of entities that prefer reality to remain stable. Before anyone can respond, alarms begin shrieking across the palace. Long-range augury has detected the creature's approach, no longer alone, but accompanied by a growing host of demonic allies drawn from the warp tiers left by the fleet's destruction. Through the observation deck's reinforced windows, Vex sees Terra's citizens looking skyward. In the hive cities, workers abandon their stations to gather in prayer circles. In the noble districts, aristocrats huddle in their mansions behind blessed wards. In the underhive, gangers and cultists alike fall to their knees as they feel the weight of approaching doom. But it's the planet's psychic resonance that truly terrifies him. Every prayer, every act of defiance, every moment of courage or despair feeds the warp. And the creature approaches through that same warp, drawing power from the very emotions it inspires. Sir, Koratha's voice shakes as she consults her portable auger unit. I'm detecting massive disturbances in the deep vaults. The cornate artifacts, they're not just awakening. They're trying to break free. Valoris moves to a secure Vox unit, his fingers dancing across blessed controls. Palace Command, this is the Captain General. Increase security around Vault Omega-7 through Omega-13 immediately. Deploy Grey Knights to contain any breach. But Vex knows it's already too late. The approaching creature has created the perfect conditions for chaos incursion, massive violence, planetary-scale fear, and the promise of even greater bloodshed to come. The sealed artifacts sense their moment of liberation drawing near. Through the observation deck's windows, they watched the first elements of Terra's orbital defenses opening fire. Lance batteries that could crack mountains discharged their fury into the void, their coherent beams reaching out toward the approaching green storm. The creature doesn't even try to dodge. It spreads its arms wide, welcoming the assault, growing visibly larger with each impact. Its demonic escorts dance around the weapon strikes, feeding on the violence like parasites on a corpse. "Emperor preserve us," someone whispers. Vex cannot identify the voice through his helmet's audio filters. But preservation seems impossible. With each passing moment, the creature grows stronger while Terra's defenses reveal themselves. Soon it will know the exact position and power of every weapon pointed at it. The planet's greatest strength, its comprehensive defensive preparations, becomes a tactical gift to their enemy. A new transmission crackles across the command frequencies, originating from the deepest vaults beneath the Imperial Palace. The voice that speaks carries the authority of millennia, mechanical and yet somehow eternal. This is Custodian Librarian Valder. The Emperor stirs. The Golden Throne resonates with power not felt since the Horus Heresy. Prepare the impossible engines for deployment. If conventional warfare fails, we will risk everything on weapons that predate sanity itself. Vex exchanges glances with Valoris and Kull. The Emperor, the master of mankind who has sat motionless on the Golden Throne for 10,000 years, is awakening. But is it to save humanity, or to witness its final moments? Through his augmetic eye, he watches the creature continue its approach, now large enough to be visible as a green star against Terra's night sky. Behind it, the void burns with warp fire that will not die, and through those flames, more demons pour into reality. Terra's billion voices continue their prayers, not knowing that their faith only feeds the approaching apocalypse. In the deep vaults, ancient weapons charge with enough power to unmake existence itself. And somewhere in the depths of the Imperial Palace, the Emperor of Mankind prepares for the final battle of his eternal war. The siege of Terra is about to begin, and for the first time in 10 millennia, humanity's ultimate victory is no longer assured. In the distance, something roars with the fury of dying galaxies, and the sound carries through the void like a promise that all things must end. But not, perhaps, without a fight worthy of the species that once conquered the stars. The creature enters Terra's atmosphere like a fallen angel wreathed in nuclear fire. Vex watches from the palace observation deck as every orbital defense platform in the system opens fire simultaneously. The combined barrage would sterilize continents, turn oceans to steam, crack the planet's crust. Lance beams converge like the fingers of an angry god, their coherent light bright enough to blind unprotected eyes across 3 continents. The Hulk descends through this hurricane of destruction with arms spread wide, welcoming each impact. With every weapon strike, its form grows larger, more terrible. By the time it reaches the upper atmosphere, it stands tall as a hive spire, its green flesh rippling with power that defies comprehension. All surface batteries, open fire, Valoris commands across planetary Vox networks. Terra's hidden weapons reveal themselves for the first time in millennia. Defense lasers emerge from mountain peaks, their focused beams carving through clouds to strike the falling giant. Macro cannons buried beneath hive cities discharge shells the size of hab blocks. Missile silos built into the planet's crust launch their blessed warheads in streams of white fire. The creature laughs. The sound doesn't carry through the thin atmosphere, but the psychic resonance of that terrible mirth reaches every soul on Terra. In the hive cities, billions of citizens collapse as the alien joy washes over them like a tide of madness. In the Imperial Palace, even custodian guards stagger under the weight of that cosmic amusement. Korath, Vex manages through gritted teeth, his augmetic eye sparking from psychic feedback. Power readings. How much has it grown? Her hands shake as she consults her instruments, blood trickling from her nose where the creature's psychic presence overwhelms her defenses. 1200% increase since atmospheric entry, my lord. The energy curve is. Emperor preserve us. It's still accelerating. Through reinforced windows, they watch the creature's descent slow. Not from atmospheric friction or the concentrated firepower hammering its form, but from choice. It spreads its arms like wings, riding the thermals of its own burning wake, taking time to survey the world it has come to destroy. Those burning eyes focus on the Imperial Palace with unmistakable intelligence. It knows, Vex whispers. It knows exactly what Terra represents. The creature's trajectory shifts, angling directly toward the palace district. Its feet, each one now large enough to crush city blocks, stretch downward to meet the blessed soil of humanity's birth world. The impact registers on seismic sensors across the entire planet. The Hulk's landing obliterates the Ministerium district, its feet crushing cathedrals that have stood for 10,000 years. The shockwave levels buildings for kilometers in every direction, turning proud spires into rubble that buries millions of pilgrims who came to Terra seeking the Emperor's blessing. For a moment, dust and smoke obscure everything. Then the creature straightens to its full height, and Vex feels his enhanced heart skip several beats. The Hulk towers over the Imperial Palace itself, its head level with the highest spires. Green skin ripples with muscles that seem to grow larger with each breath. But it's the intelligence in those burning eyes that truly terrifies. This isn't a mindless beast, but a focused engine of destruction that has found its ultimate target. Custodian Guard, advance, Valoris commands, his voice steady despite the impossible sight before them. Through the tactical displays, Vex watches humanity's greatest warriors deploy. 10,000 custodians emerge from the palace's hidden passages, their guardian spears gleaming in the light of burning buildings. Each warrior is a genetically perfected killer, enhanced beyond even the Adeptus Astartes, trained to fight gods and monsters. They charge the creature's feet like golden ants attacking a mountain. Their first volley of guardian spear fire finds its mark, lost bolts and bolt rounds striking with pinpoint accuracy. The Hulk looks down at the tiny figures hammering its ankles, and for a moment, something like respect flickers in its eyes. Then it raises one massive foot and brings it down. 50 custodians vanish beneath the impact, their auramite armor crushed to atoms. But their sacrifice serves its purpose. The brief moment of resistance, of defiance in the face of impossibility, creates a spark of hope that resonates across the planet. The creature feels that hope, and it makes it angry. A roar builds in the Hulk's throat, a sound that shatters windows across the palace district. But this isn't just noise, it's a psychic scream that tears holes in reality itself. Through these wounds in space-time, demons begin to manifest. Bloodletters of corn materialize around the creature's feet, their brass weapons gleaming with unholy fire. They fall upon the custodian guard with savage glee, but the Emperor's guardians are ready for such foes. Guardian spears carve through demonic flesh, blessed bolter rounds banish lesser entities back to the warp. For a moment, hope flickers again. The custodians are holding their ground, their discipline and skill proving superior to raw demonic fury. The Hulk notices this small victory, and its anger deepens. It reaches down with one massive hand, fingers closing around a full squad of custodians. Auramite armor, forged in the Emperor's own workshops and blessed by 10,000 years of faith, crumples like paper. The warriors within, each one a legend among legends, die without ceremony, crushed by strength that transcends mortal comprehension. But their deaths serve a purpose. Sister Superior Catalina of the Sisters of Silence steps forward, her blank presence creating a zone of psychic nullification around the creature's feet. For the first time since its arrival, the Hulk pauses, confusion flickering across its massive features as its connection to the warp wavers. Now! Valoris shouts across the tactical network. All units, concentrated fire while it's vulnerable. Every weapon within range opens fire simultaneously. Melta beams boil the creature's flesh. Plasma cannons punch holes through muscles the size of habblocks. Volkite weapons, relics of the Great Crusade, discharge their ancient fury into the giant's torso. For a heartbeat, it seems to work. The creature staggers, actually wounded for the first time. Green blood spatters across the palace district, each drop large enough to flood streets. Hope blooms in human hearts across the planet. Then the Hulk's wounds begin to heal, flesh knitting together at visible speed. But more than that, the creature learns. Its next movements are faster, more precise. It adapts to their tactics in real time, its alien intelligence processing 10,000 years of human warfare in mere seconds. A massive hand sweeps across the palace courtyard, sending custodians flying like golden dolls. Another hand reaches for Sister Superior Catalina, seeking to eliminate the source of psychic nullification. She stands her ground, her blank presence creating ripples of confusion in the creature's mind. For a moment, woman and monster stare at each other across an impossible gulf of scale and power. Then the creature's fingers close, and another legend dies in silence. With the Sisters of Silence broken, demons pour through the widening warp rifts around the creature's form. Not just bloodletters now, but greater entities, bloodthirsters whose brass armor reflects the burning city, demon princes whose presence alone can drive mortals mad. Fall back to the Eternity Gate, Valoris commands, his voice heavy with defeat. All units, fighting withdrawal to prepared positions. The surviving custodians retreat in perfect order, their discipline unbroken despite witnessing the impossible. They carry their wounded, recover their sacred weapons, maintain formation even as demons harry their flanks and the green giant follows their withdrawal with steps that shake the planet. Through his augmetic eye, Vex records every detail of the retreat. Humanity's greatest warriors, forced to flee from an enemy that grows stronger with every moment of resistance. The bitter irony tastes like ashes, their courage only feeds their destroyer's power. The creature reaches the palace's outer walls, barriers that have stood since the Great Crusade. Adamantium reinforced with faith, blessed by the Emperor's own touch, protected by ward stones that have turned away greater demons. The Hulk places one hand against the wall and pushes. The ancient barriers explode outward in a shower of blessed stone and twisted metal. 10,000 years of sanctification, undone in a moment of casual violence. But as the creature steps through the breach it has created, something changes. The palace's inner defenses activate, not weapons or walls, but something far older and more terrible. The presence of the Emperor himself, stirring on the golden throne, makes itself felt. For the first time since entering the system, the Hulk pauses. Its burning eyes narrow as they focus on the palace's heart, where something ancient and powerful waits in the darkness. The creature has found Terra. Now it must face the master of mankind. The real battle is about to begin. The Eternity Gate stands defiant against the green apocalypse, its adamantium surface inscribed with 10,000 years of prayers and battle honors. Each of the gate's golden eagles could dwarf a land raider, and the barrier itself has turned away demon princes and primarchs alike. The Hulk examines it with the careful attention of an artist studying a canvas. From the command bunker buried beneath the palace's foundations, Vex watches through picked feeds as the creature traces the gate's carved eagles with one massive finger. Its touch leaves furrows in blessed adamantium, metal that should resist even plasma cutters melting like wax beneath alien flesh. Defensive positions confirmed, reports Captain Shield Valdris, his voice crackling across Vox channels that struggle with the psychic interference surrounding the palace. 3,000 custodians in firing positions. Sisters of Silence squads deployed at critical choke points. All heavy weapons trained on the gate. Valoris stands beside the tactical display, his scarred face illuminated by data streams showing Terra's death throes. Beyond the palace walls, hive cities burn as lesser demons pour through warp rifts torn by the creature's presence. But his attention remains fixed on the immediate threat. Tech Adept, he addresses Call, who hovers near banks of monitoring equipment like a mechanical spider. Status of the impossible engines. Charging protocols at 67% completion, Call responds, his optical mechadendrites weaving hypnotic patterns in the recycled air. But my lord, deploying such weapons within the palace itself will likely result in significant structural reorganization of local spacetime. Meaning we might unmake ourselves along with the target. The engines do not distinguish between friend and enemy, they edit reality according to programmed parameters. If we set them to erase the creature, they may erase everything within a 50-kilometer radius. Through the picked feeds, they watched the Hulk step back from the Eternity Gate, studying its defenses with alien intelligence. Demon reinforcements gather at its feet, bloodletters whose brass weapons gleam with fresh gore, bloodthirsters whose wings cast shadows across the burning palace district. Then the creature places both hands against the gate and begins to push. The sound defies description, metal screaming, reality groaning under impossible stress, the very atoms of matter protesting their violent restructuring. Cracks appear in adamantium that has withstood the fury of gods, spreading like lightning across the gate's blessed surface. All units, open fire. Valoris commands. The palace's inner defenses reveal themselves in a storm of blessed violence. Custodian Guard discharged their guardian spears in perfect unison, their bolter rounds and loss beams creating a wall of death that should vaporize any mortal foe. Heavy weapons teams emerge from concealed positions, their Volkite culverins and plasma cannons adding their fury to the barrage. The creature ignores it all, focused entirely on the barrier before it. Each impact feeds its strength, but now something has changed. The Hulk is no longer simply absorbing the attacks, it's learning from them, studying the tactical doctrines and weapon capabilities of its enemies with terrifying efficiency. The Eternity Gate buckles. Impossible, someone whispers over the Vox. Vex cannot identify the voice through the static of disbelief. But the impossible is happening. Metal blessed by the Emperor's own touch folds like paper. Ward stones that have turned away greater demons crack and crumble. 10,000 years of accumulated sanctity prove no match for alien fury made manifest. The gate explodes inward in a shower of blessed shrapnel. Through the breach, the Hulk steps into the Imperial Palace proper for the first time. Its massive form fills corridors designed for primarchs, green flesh scraping against vaulted ceilings decorated with murals of humanity's greatest triumphs. The first custodians to engage it die instantly, their Auramite armor crushed by hands that move faster than superhuman reflexes can track. But their sacrifice creates an opportunity. Sister Superior Amara of the Sisters of Silence steps into the creature's path, her blank presence creating a zone of psychic nullification that momentarily confuses their enemy. For precious seconds, the Hulk pauses, its connection to the warp severed by the Sister's presence. In that moment of vulnerability, Captain Shield Valdris leads a strike force of his finest warriors in a coordinated assault on the creature's ankles and calves, the only targets they can reasonably reach. Their guardian spears carve deep furrows in alien flesh. Melta charges detonate against muscles the size of rhino APCs. For a heartbeat, green blood flows like rivers across marble floors that have been walked by saints and heroes. The creature looks down at the tiny figures harrying it, and something like approval flickers in those burning eyes. These mortals show courage worthy of respect, even in the face of their inevitable destruction. Then Sister Superior Amara makes her fatal mistake. She steps closer, trying to expand her null field, to create a larger zone where their weapons might prove effective against their cosmic enemy. The Hulk's hand closes around her with almost gentle precision. For a moment, woman and monster regard each other across an impossible gulf of scale and power. Then the creature's fingers tighten, and another legend dies in the service of the Golden Throne. With the psychic nullification gone, demons pour through the shattered gate like a tide of brass and fury. Bloodletters fall upon the defending custodians with savage glee, their hell-forged weapons clashing against guardian spears in showers of sparks that illuminate frescoes of ancient victories. "Fall back to the throne chamber," Valoris commands, his voice steady despite watching humanity's greatest defenders being overwhelmed. Fighting withdrawal, preserve ammunition, maintain formation discipline. The retreat begins, and Vex feels his augmented heart breaking as he records humanity's finest hour becoming its darkest. Through corridor after corridor, the Golden Warriors withdraw, carrying their wounded, maintaining perfect discipline even as their enemy grows stronger with every moment of resistance. But something changes as they draw closer to the palace's heart. The air itself becomes charged with power, thick with the psychic presence of the Master of Mankind stirring on the Golden Throne. Ancient machinery awakens from millennia of slumber, and the very walls begin to pulse with barely contained energy. The Hulk feels it too. Its advance slows, massive head turning toward the source of that overwhelming presence. For the first time since entering the system, uncertainty flickers in those alien eyes. The Emperor stirs, whispers Custodian Librarian Valder across the Vox, his voice carrying harmonics that make reality itself shiver. The Golden Throne responds to the threat. Power levels are climbing beyond anything recorded since the Horus Heresy. Through monitoring equipment, Call tracks energy readings that defy comprehension. The throne's psychic output has increased by 3,000%. If these levels continue to climb, the resulting psychic shockwave could be felt across the galaxy. The creature continues its advance, but now each step requires effort. It's no longer simply walking through the palace, it's pushing against the will of a god made manifest. The Emperor's presence presses down like the weight of stars, making even this cosmic entity struggle for each meter gained. Behind the retreating custodians, lesser demons begin to burn away like shadows before dawn. The Emperor's stirring presence anathema to their existence, forcing them back through the warp rifts that birthed them. Only the greater entities can withstand that terrible radiance, bloodthirsters whose brass armor steams and cracks, demon princes whose forms waver like mirages in the desert. Sir, Karatha's voice shakes with barely contained awe, the psychic readings are indescribable. It's as if the Emperor is awakening from his eternal vigil. But the power requirements, she doesn't need to finish. Everyone in the command bunker understands. If the Master of Mankind fully awakens, the psychic backlash could burn out every psyker on Terra, collapse the Astronomicon, leave humanity blind and defenseless across the galaxy. But if he doesn't, the creature will reach the throne chamber, and 10,000 years of sacrifice will end in cosmic violence that tears reality apart. Through the tactical displays, Vex watches the final act approaching. The Hulk pushes deeper into the palace, its form now wreathed in green fire that burns even in the Emperor's presence. The surviving custodians fall back to their ultimate defensive line, the great doors of the throne chamber itself. And somewhere in the darkness beyond those doors, the Emperor of Mankind prepares to face an enemy that has devoured star systems and grown strong on the fury of gods. The siege reaches its climax, and the fate of reality hangs in the balance. The warp tears open above the Imperial Palace like a wound in reality's flesh. Vex feels it first as pressure behind his augmetic eye, a building wrongness that makes his enhanced vision stutter and spark. Through the command bunker's reinforced walls, he hears something that should be impossible, the sound of space-time screaming as cosmic forces tear holes in the fabric of existence itself. "Emperor, preserve us," Korath whispers, her hands flying across psychic monitoring equipment as readings spike beyond comprehension. The warp storms are intensifying. Something massive is trying to manifest directly above the palace. Through picked feeds, they watch the Hulk pause in its advance toward the throne chamber, massive head turning skyward as it senses what approaches. The creature's burning eyes narrow with something that might be recognition, or perhaps anticipation. The sky splits apart. What emerges defies mortal description. Wings that blot out stars, brass armor that reflects the flames of dying worlds, a skull face wreathed in the steam of boiling blood. The greater demon of Khorne stands 3 times taller than even the transformed Hulk, its presence so overwhelming that reality warps around it like heated metal. Bloodthirster supreme and Grath the Unbound, herald of the blood god, demon prince of the first murder, manifests above Terra with the fury of collapsing galaxies. Impossible, Fabricator General calls mechanical voice carries harmonics of disbelief. No greater demon should be able to manifest so fully in real space. The Emperor's presence, the palace's ward stones, the blessed nature of Terra itself, they should prevent such manifestation. But the demon stands solid and terrible above them, its brass weapons weeping blood that falls like rain across the burning city. Each drop that touches blessed ground hisses and steams, corrupting millennia of accumulated sanctity with alien toxins. Through his augmetic eye, Vex records the moment when 2 cosmic entities regard each other across the ruins of humanity's greatest city. The Hulk, green flesh rippling with power drawn from countless acts of violence. The demon, brass and fury made manifest, speaking for a god whose throne is built from skulls. And Grath speaks, its voice a sound like worlds burning, mortal thing that rages. The blood god sees your fury. Khorne offers alliance. Serve the skull throne, and no power beyond imagining. The Hulk tilts its massive head, studying the demon with alien intelligence. For a moment, Vex allows himself to hope. If these entities fight each other instead of focusing on Terra's defenses. The creature's response comes not in words, but in action. It leaps. The Hulk launches itself skyward with impossible force, its massive form hurtling toward the demon like a green meteor. The impact when they meet shakes the planet, a collision between cosmic forces that registers on seismic sensors across 3 continents. And Grath catches the creature mid-flight, brass claws digging furrows in green flesh while wings beat hurricane winds across the burning palace district. For the first time since entering the system, the Hulk faces an opponent that matches its own impossible scale. They grapple in the sky above Terra, their battle a dance of titans that makes the air itself burn. The demon's claws tear chunks from the creature's hide, each wound spraying blood that could flood city streets. But the Hulk's regeneration is beyond supernatural, wounds heal even as they're inflicted, flesh knitting together faster than superhuman perception can follow. More terrifying still, the creature is learning. Each exchange teaches it something new about its opponent's fighting style, each blocked attack revealing weaknesses in the demon's technique. The alien intelligence behind those burning eyes processes eons of combat experience in mere seconds. Sir, Koratha's voice shakes with barely controlled terror, the psychic readings are indescribable. Each impact is tearing new holes in reality. If this continues, the warp could spill into real space across the entire system. Through tactical displays, Vex watches the impossible battle rage above them. Buildings collapse from the shockwaves of their collision. Lesser demons are torn apart by the turbulence of their movement. Even the Custodian Guard, humanity's greatest warriors, can only watch in awe as powers beyond mortal comprehension clash in the burning sky. And Grath spreads its wings, pulling back to gain distance for another charge. But the Hulk has learned from their grappling match. As the demon approaches, the creature times its response perfectly, catching the demon's charge and redirecting its momentum. They crash into the palace's eastern wing with force that levels entire districts. The arsenal vaults. Valoris shouts across the command network. They're fighting directly above our weapon storage. If those detonate, the explosion, when it comes, briefly rivals a small sun. Millennia of accumulated ordnance, plasma warheads, Volkite ammunition, archaeotech devices whose function has been forgotten, all detonate simultaneously in a chain reaction that should vaporize both combatants. Through the nuclear fire, two forms emerge. The demon, brass armor cracked and steaming, one wing torn nearly free. The Hulk, green flesh charred but already regenerating, growing visibly larger as its rage feeds on the violence of their conflict. But something has changed. The massive explosion has torn wounds in spacetime itself, and through these psychic rifts, the raw stuff of the warp begins pouring into reality. Not just demonic entities now, but the fundamental forces of chaos, emotions made manifest, concepts given form, the nightmares of sleeping gods bleeding into the material realm. The Hulk feels it first. Tendrils of pure rage, older than stars, older than the galaxy itself, reaching through the warp to caress its green flesh. The creature's eyes widen as eons of accumulated fury flow into its being like wine into a cup. Angrath recognizes what's happening and roars its approval, yes. Feel the rage of eternity. Know the fury that burned before the first star died. Become what you were always meant to be. The transformation begins slowly, then accelerates beyond comprehension. The Hulk's form expands not just in size but in presence, its rage transcending mere emotion to become a fundamental force of nature. Green flesh takes on qualities that human perception cannot process, simultaneously solid and ethereal, matter and energy, real and impossible. Emperor's blood, Vex whispers as his augmetic eye struggles to focus on the creature's changing form. It's not just absorbing warp energy. It's becoming something else entirely. Through monitoring equipment, Call tracks readings that break his instruments. The entity is undergoing metamorphosis at the quantum level. It's incorporating aspects of the warp itself into its physical matrix. If this process completes, he doesn't need to finish. Everyone in the command bunker understands. The creature will transcend its physical limitations entirely, becoming a force of pure rage that exists simultaneously in real space and the warp. Nothing in the material universe will be capable of stopping it. The demon prince realizes this too, and for the first time, uncertainty flickers in its brass skull face. What began as an offer of alliance has become something far more dangerous. The creature isn't joining Khorne's service, it's preparing to challenge the blood god himself. Angrath attacks with desperate fury, brass claws seeking to interrupt the transformation before it completes. But it's too late. The Hulk catches the demon's strike with casual ease, its newly transformed flesh showing no sign of damage from weapons that could cleave battle cruisers. The creature's other hand closes around Angrath's throat, lifting the greater demon like a child's toy. For a moment, they hang suspended in the burning sky, the herald of a god, and something that might be greater than gods. Then the Hulk begins to squeeze. The demon's death scream echoes across dimensions, a sound that breaks the minds of lesser entities and sends psychic shockwaves racing through the warp itself. Brass armor crumples like paper. Bones that have endured since the galaxy's birth finally snap. The greater demon of Khorne, mightiest of the blood god's servants, dies in the grip of something that has transcended mortal limitations entirely. But Angrath's death serves one final purpose. As its essence dissipates back into the warp, the demon's power, eons of accumulated rage, violence, and fury, flows into its killer like blood into a hungry mouth. The Hulk absorbs it all. When the transformation completes, the creature that floats above Terra bears little resemblance to what first entered the system. It has become something new, something unprecedented, a fusion of alien biology and warp-touched power that exists beyond the normal rules of reality. Its burning eyes turn toward the Imperial Palace below, and for the first time, Vex sees recognition there. Not just of Terra as a target, but understanding of what it represents. The creature knows exactly what lies in the throne chamber, and why destroying it will doom not just humanity, but the galaxy itself. The real enemy has finally revealed itself, and it is beyond anything the Imperium has ever faced. In the depths of the palace, the Golden Throne's power output climbs toward critical levels as the Emperor prepares for a confrontation that will reshape the cosmos. In the aftermath of Ingratha's destruction, silence falls over Terra like a funeral shroud. The transformed Hulk floats above the burning palace district, no longer bound by the laws of physics that govern mortal existence. Its form shifts between states, solid matter one moment, pure energy the next, sometimes existing as both simultaneously in ways that make Vex's augmetic eye spark and stutter. From the command bunker, they watch through failing pict feeds as the creature descends toward the palace proper. But something has changed in its movement. Where before it smashed through obstacles with brute force, now it simply phases through walls and barriers like a living ghost. Matter offers no resistance to something that exists partially in the warp. Energy readings are beyond our instrument's capacity to measure, Call reports, his mechanical voice carrying undertones of something that might be fear. The entity has achieved a state I can only describe as impossible, existing simultaneously in real space and the immaterium while bound by the laws of neither. Captain General Valoris studies tactical displays that no longer make sense, showing an enemy that can appear anywhere, ignore any defense, transcend any limitation the Imperium has ever faced. His scarred features remain composed, but Vex can see the weight of absolute defeat settling on those ancient shoulders. What are our options? Valoris asks, though his tone suggests he already knows the answer. The impossible engines, Call responds immediately. Reality editing weapons from the dark age of technology. If we can target the creature during one of its material phases, and the risks? Total. We would be using weapons designed to unmake existence itself, deployed within the most sacred site in human space. Success would likely result in the complete destruction of Terra, the collapse of the Astronomicon, and the end of human stellar civilization. And failure? The creature reaches the throne chamber, kills the Emperor, and dooms not just humanity but every sentient species in the galaxy to eternal torment under chaos. The choice hangs in the recycled air of the bunker like poison gas. Destroy Terra to save the galaxy, or watch both burn in the fires of unrestrained chaos. Through the picked feeds, they watch the creature's approach toward the throne chamber slow. Not from any physical impediment, but because something else demands its attention. The psychic presence of the Emperor grows stronger with each passing moment, pressing down on reality like the weight of a collapsing star. Sir, Karatha's voice shakes as she monitors psychic resonance patterns. I'm detecting massive power fluctuations from the Golden Throne. The Emperor. He's not just stirring. He's awakening. Ancient machinery throughout the palace begins to hum with power not felt since the Horus Heresy. Lights that have been dark for millennia suddenly blaze to life. Servoskulls that have been inactive since the Great Crusade begin to move with renewed purpose. The very air becomes thick with psychic energy that makes unaugmented humans weep blood from the pressure. The Hulk pauses, its burning eyes focusing on the source of that overwhelming presence. For the first time since its transformation, uncertainty flickers across its alien features. It has absorbed the power of gods, transcended physical limitations, become something beyond mortal comprehension, but the Emperor of mankind is no mortal. Tactical analysis, Valoris commands, his voice steady despite the impossible circumstances. Can the Emperor defeat this entity? Call's optical mechadendrites weave hypnotic patterns as he processes data streams from across the palace. Unknown. The Emperor's power has been diminished by 10,000 years of maintaining the Astronomicon and holding the warp at bay. But if he fully awakens, abandons his vigil to face this threat directly, the consequences? Catastrophic. Without the Emperor's will binding it, the warp storm beneath Terra would explode outward, turning the entire system into a demon world. The Astronomicon would die, leaving humanity blind across the galaxy. Chaos would be unrestrained. Vex feels the weight of cosmic irony settling on his enhanced consciousness. Either path leads to humanity's doom: allow the creature to reach the throne chamber, or force the Emperor to abandon his eternal vigil. They have engineered their own destruction through the very act of resistance. Through the palace's internal sensors, they track the creature's movement through corridors that predate the Imperium itself. It passes through walls carved with the deeds of heroes, floors walked by saints and primarchs, chambers where humanity's greatest decisions have been made for 10 millennia. All of it meaningless against something that exists beyond mortal limitations. But as the Hulk draws closer to the palace's heart, other forces begin to stir. The sealed vaults beneath the foundation crack open, spilling forth weapons and artifacts that have slumbered since humanity's darkest hours. Not just Imperial technology, but relics from the Age of Strife, the Dark Age of technology, even fragments of archaeotech that predate human civilization entirely. Movement in Vault Omega 7, reports a custodian guard, his voice tight with controlled panic. The cornate artifacts are fully active. They're singing. Through audio pickups, they hear it, a sound like metal screaming, like blood boiling, like rage-given voice. The ancient weapons of the blood god, sealed away after the Horus heresy, sense their moment of liberation approaching. They know what comes toward them, and they approve. Grey Knight's responding, Valoris announces, but his tone carries little hope. Brother Captain Stern reports heavy resistance. The artifacts are defended by entities that should not exist. Vex understands. The cornate relics haven't just awakened, they've begun manifesting demons directly from their metal forms, creating a second front within the palace itself. Humanity's defenders must now fight enemies on multiple fronts while their primary threat transcends all conventional responses. The creature reaches the great doors of the throne chamber and pauses. Beyond those barriers lies the Emperor of mankind, Master of humanity, beacon of hope across the galaxy. For 10,000 years, he has sat motionless on the golden throne, his psychic might holding back the forces of chaos through sheer will. Now he stirs, and reality trembles. The doors, each one carved from a single piece of wraithbone and blessed by the Emperor's own touch, begin to glow with inner fire. Power builds behind them like water behind a dam, pressing outward with force that makes the palace walls groan and crack. Through psychic monitoring equipment, Koroth tracks energy levels that break every scale devised by human science. The Emperor's psychic output is climbing exponentially. At current rates of increase, the resulting discharge could sterilize half the galaxy. The Hulk places one hand against the glowing doors, and for the first time since its transformation, something resists its touch. The Emperor's will, given form through 10 millennia of faith and sacrifice, pushes back against alien fury with the force of dying stars. For a moment, the two powers balance, mortal rage transformed into cosmic fury, divine will focused through eternal vigilance. Reality warps around their conflict, space-time bending like heated metal under the pressure of competing infinities. Then the Emperor's presence withdraws slightly, not in defeat but in preparation. Ancient machinery screams to life as the Golden Throne prepares to channel power that hasn't been unleashed since the birth of the Imperium. He's going to fight it directly, Vex whispers, understanding flooding through his enhanced consciousness. The Emperor is abandoning his vigil to face this threat personally. Then we're all doomed, Valoris responds with the calm of absolute certainty. The moment he leaves the throne, the warp storms will consume Terra. We have perhaps minutes before chaos breaks through entirely. The final gambit approaches. The Emperor will face the creature in single combat, wagering everything on one last throw of the dice. If he wins, the Imperium might survive with a new God Emperor to guide them. If he loses, chaos will consume the galaxy entire. Behind them, explosions echo through the palace as Grey Knights fight desperately to contain the awakening Coronate artifacts. Around them, reality groans under the pressure of competing cosmic forces. Ahead of them, the final confrontation that will determine the fate of all existence draws near. The doors of the throne chamber begin to open, golden light spilling forth like liquid fire. Within that radiance, something ancient and terrible prepares to meet its ultimate challenge. The endgame has arrived. The golden throne dies. Vex feels it first as a psychic scream that tears through his enhanced consciousness like claws through parchment. 10,000 years of the Emperor's eternal vigil ends in a moment, and the sudden absence of that divine will creates a void that reality rushes to fill. Through the palace's failing systems, emergency klaxons wail as ancient machinery shuts down for the first time since the Horus heresy. The Astronomicon flickers like a candle in hurricane winds. Across the galaxy, navigators scream as the Emperor's light dies, leaving humanity blind in the warp-touched darkness between stars. Throne chamber sealed breach detected, reports custodian librarian Valder, his voice carrying harmonics of barely controlled panic. The Emperor rises. Through failing pict feeds, they watch the impossible. The master of mankind, who has sat motionless on the golden throne for 10 millennia, stands. His form blazes with psychic fire that burns through dimensions, golden light so pure it makes the camera feeds white out from overload. The Hulk pauses at the threshold of the throne chamber, its burning eyes widening as it beholds the Emperor in his full glory. For the first time since its transformation, the creature shows something that might be caution. It faces not just another opponent, but the concentrated will of humanity's greatest champion given form. Power readings are impossible, Call reports, his mechanical voice stuttering as data streams overload his processing cores. The Emperor's psychic output is approaching levels that could alter the fundamental structure of local space-time. They meet in the center of the throne chamber. Two godlike entities whose very presence warps reality around them. The Emperor, blazing with golden fire that has guided humanity for 10,000 years. The Hulk, wreathed in green flames that burn with the fury of dying worlds. The first exchange shatters the chamber's ancient walls. Psychic force meets alien rage in a collision that sends shockwaves racing through dimensions. The Emperor's power, unleashed for the first time in millennia, crashes against the creature's transcendent fury like tsunamis of opposing force. Where their energies meet, matter simply ceases to exist, edited out of reality by forces too powerful for the material realm to contain. Through his augmetic eye, Vex watches the battle rage beyond mortal comprehension. The Emperor strikes with beams of pure will that could boil oceans, his psychic might focused through 10,000 years of accumulated faith and sacrifice. The Hulk responds with blows that tear holes in space-time itself, its fists moving faster than light, hitting harder than dying stars. They are evenly matched. This is impossible, someone whispers over the Vox. Vex cannot identify the voice through the static of cosmic interference. Nothing should be able to stand against the Emperor's full power. But the creature does more than stand, it adapts. With each exchange, it learns something new about its opponent's fighting style. The alien intelligence behind those burning eyes processes the Emperor's tactics in real time, finding weaknesses in techniques perfected over 40,000 years of warfare. More terrifying still, the battle itself feeds the Hulk's power. Each impact, each explosion of force, each moment of cosmic violence adds fuel to the creature's endless rage. It grows stronger with every second of the fight, while the Emperor, weakened by millennia of binding the warp, slowly diminishes. Around them, Terra dies. Without the Emperor's will holding back the warp storms beneath the palace, chaos begins bleeding through reality's wounds. The sealed coronate artifacts finally break free from their vaults, manifesting demon princes directly into the palace's heart. Lesser entities pour through widening warp rifts like pus from an infected wound. Grey Knights report total containment failure, Valoris announces, his voice steady despite witnessing the end of everything. Vault Omega 7 through Omega 15 have been compromised. Demon incursions across all palace levels. But even the demons pause as they witness the battle raging in the throne chamber. Greater entities that have ravaged star systems cower before the display of power that could unmake galaxies. This isn't warfare, it's the collision of fundamental forces that shape the universe itself. The Emperor lands a direct blow, his golden fist connecting with the creature's torso. Green flesh vaporizes under the impact, alien blood boiling away into psychic steam. For a moment, hope flickers as the mighty Hulk staggers backward, actually wounded by the master of mankind's fury. Then the creature's wounds heal, flesh knitting together faster than superhuman perception can follow. But more than that, the injury makes it angry. The Hulk's roar shakes the foundations of reality itself. Warp rifts tear open across the chamber ceiling, spilling the raw stuff of chaos into the sacred heart of the Imperium. Through these wounds in space-time, eons of accumulated rage flow into the creature like wine into a cup. Not just its own fury now, but the rage of every sentient being that has ever lived. The anger of slaves who died in chains. The fury of warriors who fell unremembered. The wrath of mothers who watched their children starve. All of it pours into the Hulk, transforming it from merely transcendent to genuinely infinite. Emperor's blood, Vex whispers as he watches the creature's transformation reach its final stage. It's not just absorbing power from the warp. It's becoming the warp's avatar of rage. The Emperor recognizes the threat and responds with everything he has. Golden light erupts from his form with intensity that could sterilize solar systems. Psychic fire that has guided humanity through its darkest hours blazes forth in one final, desperate gambit to destroy their enemy before its apotheosis completes. The attack should work. Nothing mortal, nothing that exists within the normal boundaries of reality, could survive such concentrated divine fury. The blast vaporizes everything within a kilometer radius, turning blessed stone and sacred metal to component atoms. When the fire clears, the Hulk stands unchanged. Worse than unchanged, stronger. The Emperor's assault has only fed its infinite rage, adding divine fury to the cosmic storm that powers its existence. It has transcended not just physical limitations, but the very concept of limitation itself. The creature reaches out with casual ease, its massive hand closing around the Emperor's blazing form. Golden fire flickers and dims as alien fingers tighten, containing power that has burned for 10,000 years. No, Valoris breathes across the Vox, the word carrying the weight of species-wide denial. This cannot be happening. But it is happening. The Emperor of mankind, master of humanity, beacon of hope across the galaxy, struggles helplessly in the grip of something that has become rage incarnate. His psychic might, which has held back chaos for millennia, proves insufficient against fury that draws power from existence itself. The Hulk's other hand rises, fingers closing into a fist that contains the combined wrath of every violent act ever committed. It draws back, preparing to deliver a blow that will shatter the last hope of humanity. Around them, reality holds its breath. In the depths of the palace, Fabricator General Call makes a desperate choice. His mechanical fingers dance across controls that have been sealed since the dark age of technology, activating weapons that should never be used within a star system. Impossible engines charging, he reports across the Vox, his voice carrying harmonics of absolute desperation. Reality editing protocols initiated. If this doesn't work, do it, Valorous commands, understanding that they have nothing left to lose. Ancient machinery screams to life as weapons older than human civilization prepare to fire. Not at the creature, their target is reality itself, the fundamental laws that govern existence in this region of spacetime. The engines discharge with force that makes suns look like candles. But even as reality convulses around them, even as the laws of physics collapse and reform in patterns that human minds cannot process, the Hulk continues its inexorable motion. Its fist descends toward the Emperor's golden form, carrying with it the promise of endings. The final blow falls, and with it dies the last light of hope in a galaxy drowning in its own fury. The Emperor's golden fire dies to embers, then to ash, then to nothing at all. In the sudden darkness of the throne chamber, only the Hulk's green radiance remains, casting sick shadows across walls that have witnessed 40,000 years of humanity's greatest moments. The creature holds the Emperor's broken form in one massive fist, examining its prize with the detached interest of a child studying a broken toy. Through failing picked feeds, Vex watches the master of mankind, beacon of hope, father of humanity, God Emperor of a million worlds, reduced to a crumpled figure no larger than an ordinary man. 10,000 years of accumulated faith and sacrifice, ended by the casual application of infinite fury. Psychic output from the throne chamber has ceased entirely, Koroth reports, her voice hollow with shock. The Emperor's presence. It's gone. I can't detect any life signs. Around them, Terra convulses in its death throes. Without the Emperor's will binding the warp storms beneath the palace, chaos erupts through reality's wounds like infected blood from burst veins. The sky above the Imperial Palace tears open in a permanent rift that spills demons by the thousand into the material realm. All remaining forces converge on the throne chamber, Valorous commands across failing Vox networks, his voice steady despite witnessing the impossible. Final defensive positions. For the Emperor and Terra. But even as he gives the order, they all know it's meaningless. What remains of humanity's defenders, perhaps 300 custodian guard, scattered squads of grey knights, a handful of sisters of silence, cannot hope to face something that has just killed a god. Still, they come. Through collapsing corridors and demon-haunted halls, the last loyal servants of the Golden Throne advance toward their final battle. Not because they believe they can win, but because duty demands nothing less. Vex makes his own choice in that moment of cosmic ending. His augmetic eye continues recording, capturing every detail of humanity's final hour for whatever remnant might survive to bear witness. But now he steps out from the bunker's protection, Koroth at his side, to face the creature that has doomed their species. "Sir, we should evacuate," she whispers, though her feet follow his toward the throne chamber. "There's nothing we can do." "No," Vex replies, his enhanced heart pounding against reinforced ribs. "But we can watch. We can remember. Someone must bear witness to how it ended." They emerge into chaos beyond description. The palace burns with warp fire that consumes matter and energy alike, reducing millennia of accumulated sanctity to ash and memory. Demons dance through the corridors like children at play, their brass weapons slick with the blood of heroes and saints. But even the greater demons give the throne chamber a wide berth. They recognize what has occurred within, not just the death of an enemy, but the birth of something that might challenge their own patrons. The Hulk has transcended mortal limitations entirely, becoming a force that exists beyond the normal hierarchies of power. The creature emerges from the ruined chamber, the Emperor's corpse dangling from its massive fist like a broken doll. It surveys the burning palace with those alien eyes, taking in the destruction it has wrought with something that might be satisfaction. Then it sees them, the last defenders of humanity arrayed in the great courtyard beyond the throne chamber. 300 golden warriors in perfect formation, their guardian spears gleaming in the light of burning buildings. Squad after squad of Grey Knights, their blessed weapons crackling with psychic energy. The surviving Sisters of Silence, their blank presence creating zones of relative stability in the warp-touched chaos. Captain General Valoris stands at their head, his Auramite armor unmarked despite leading humanity's final charge. His voice carries across the courtyard with the authority of 10,000 years of duty. Custodian Guard, advance. They charge as one, a golden tide flowing across blessed marble toward their transcendent enemy. Their formation is perfect, their discipline absolute, their courage beyond mortal comprehension. Each warrior is a legend among legends, genetically enhanced to fight gods and monsters. Against the transformed Hulk, they are insects. The creature doesn't even acknowledge their charge at first, its attention focused on the corpse in its grasp. When the first guardian spears strike its ankles, bouncing off green flesh like rain against stone, it looks down with something resembling mild annoyance. One massive foot rises and falls, crushing a dozen custodians to paste. Another swipe of its free hand sends golden warriors flying like scattered coins. But they keep coming, their loyalty absolute even in the face of cosmic futility. Grey Knight Justicar Thane reaches the creature's feet first, his force sword blazing with psychic fire as he drives it deep into alien flesh. For a moment, hope flickers, the blessed weapon actually penetrates the Hulk's skin, drawing drops of blood that could flood city districts. The creature looks down at this tiny figure who has dared to wound it, and something like respect flickers in those burning eyes. Then its free hand descends, fingers closing around the Grey Knight with gentle precision. Thane dies as the Emperor died, crushed by strength that transcends physical laws. But his sacrifice creates an opportunity. Sister Superior Magdalena of the Sisters of Silence steps into the creature's shadow, her blank presence creating a zone where its warp-touched power wavers slightly. Now! Valoris shouts, leading the charge himself. While it's vulnerable, every weapon within range fires simultaneously. Guardian spears discharge their fury in perfect unison. Force weapons blaze with concentrated psychic energy. Blessed bolters and sacred plasma guns add their voices to the storm of violence directed at their transcendent enemy. For a heartbeat, it almost seems to work. The concentrated firepower actually staggers the creature, carving wounds in flesh that has absorbed the fury of gods. Green blood flows like rivers across the courtyard, and for just a moment, the impossible seems possible. Then the wounds heal, flesh knitting together faster than superhuman perception can track. But worse than the healing is what follows, the creature grows. Each attack feeds its endless rage, each act of heroic defiance only makes it stronger. The Hulk straightens to its full height, now towering even higher above the palace district. Its burning eyes survey the scattered defenders with something approaching approval. These mortals have shown courage worthy of recognition, even if their doom was inevitable from the first moment they took up arms. Sister Superior Magdalena maintains her position directly beneath the creature, her blank presence the only thing creating even minor interference with its power. She stands motionless as a statue, her faith absolute even as reality collapses around her. The creature's hand descends toward her with almost gentle precision. Magdalena, move! Valoris shouts, but the sister doesn't respond. Her duty is to create vulnerability in their enemy, and she will not abandon that duty even unto death. The massive fingers close around her like a closing flower, and another light goes out in the galaxy's darkening. With the Sisters of Silence eliminated, the creature's connection to the warp strengthens beyond any previous limit. Reality warps around it like heated metal, space-time bending to accommodate power that exists beyond normal physical laws. The remaining defenders, perhaps 50 custodians, a handful of Grey Knights, scattered PDF troopers who follow duty to its ultimate conclusion, face their enemy with perfect formation despite witnessing the impossible. They charge once more, because that is what loyal servants of the Emperor do when faced with the unthinkable. Their courage blazes brighter than stars, their faith stronger than adamantium, their duty absolute despite knowing that death awaits at the end of every road. The creature watches them come with something that might be admiration. These tiny figures represent everything it has come to destroy: order, hope, the belief that good can triumph through strength and sacrifice. Their courage is magnificent, their loyalty beyond reproach. It makes destroying them almost regrettable. Almost. The Hulk raises its free hand, fingers spread wide toward the approaching defenders. Power builds between its digits, not just physical force, but conceptual destruction that could unmake existence itself. Vex watches through his augmetic eye as the last hope of humanity charges toward transcendent fury, their golden armor gleaming in the light of a burning world. He records every detail for whatever remnant might survive to remember how courage looked in the face of absolute ending. The power discharges, and heroes die as heroes always do, defiant to the last, loyal beyond death, magnificent in their feudal glory. In the sudden silence that follows, only three figures remain standing in the courtyard: Vex, Korath, and Captain General Valoris, his golden armor cracked but not broken, his guardian spear still blazing with defiant fire. The creature turns its attention to these final witnesses, studying them with alien intelligence that has absorbed the fury of gods. Its burning eyes show neither hatred nor cruelty, only the calm certainty of ending made manifest. The last stand is over. The final act begins. The creature's rage transcends the boundaries of reality itself. Standing amid the corpses of humanity's greatest champions, the Hulk undergoes its final transformation. The violence it has witnessed, the heroism it has destroyed, the very courage of those who dared stand against the impossible, all of it feeds the cosmic furnace of its fury. Vex watches through his failing augmetic eye as the creature's form expands beyond physical dimensions. It doesn't just grow larger, it grows into concepts, into ideas, into the fundamental force that drives all conflict across the galaxy. This is no longer a being that exists in normal spacetime, but something that has become rage itself made manifest. "Emperor, preserve us," Valoris whispers, his guardian spear trembling in hands that have never known fear until this moment. What have we done? The question hangs in the air like a funeral shroud. Every act of resistance, every heroic sacrifice, every moment of defiant courage has fed this monstrosity. Humanity's greatest strength, its refusal to yield in the face of impossible odds, has become the weapon of their own destruction. The Hulk tosses the Emperor's corpse aside with casual indifference, the master of mankind's broken form landing among the golden bodies of his custodian guard. 10,000 years of faith and sacrifice, reduced to carrion meat in a courtyard filled with heroes' graves. Around them, Terra dies its final death. The warp storms beneath the palace, no longer bound by the Emperor's will, explode outward with fury that has been building for millennia. The Imperial Palace, humanity's greatest monument, repository of 10,000 years of accumulated knowledge and faith, burns with fires that consume memory itself. But the creature pays no attention to the dying world. Its burning eyes focus on something far more significant: the patterns of human resistance it has observed, the tactical doctrines it has analyzed, the very concept of organized opposition that has shaped its understanding of this galaxy's dominant species. It's learning, Vex realizes with growing horror. Not just adapting to our weapons, learning about us. About humanity itself. Through psychic resonance that transcends normal communication, the creature's thoughts become momentarily visible to anyone with enhanced perception. Vex sees flashes of alien understanding, tactical assessments of Imperial military doctrine, psychological profiles of human courage and determination, strategic analyses of the Imperium's fundamental weaknesses. The Hulk has become more than just an engine of destruction. It has evolved into something that understands exactly how to dismantle human civilization from the foundations up. Sir, Karatha's voice shakes as she consults her portable auger through blood-slicked fingers. I'm detecting massive warp disturbances across the entire system. The creature's transformation is affecting things at the quantum level. Reality itself is being rewritten. The evidence surrounds them. Where the creature's feet touch blessed marble, the stone doesn't just crack, it ceases to have ever existed. Its very presence edits the past, present, and future of everything it encounters. The palace around them flickers between states of existence, sometimes solid, sometimes transparent, sometimes composed of materials that have no names in any human language. Captain General Valoris raises his guardian spear in one final gesture of defiance, though they all know the futility of the act. His voice carries the weight of 10,000 years of duty as he speaks what may be humanity's last words. I am Trajan Valoris, Captain General of the Adeptus Custodes, shield and sword of the Emperor. I have failed in my sacred duty. He pauses, looking up at the creature that towers above them like a green mountain of fury. But I will not yield. For the Emperor. For Terra. For humanity. He charges. Valoris moves with speed that makes lightning seem sluggish, his genetically enhanced form pushing the limits of what biology can achieve. His guardian spear blazes with psychic fire as he drives it toward the creature's ankle, seeking any weakness in that transcendent form. The weapon connects, its blessed point penetrating green flesh for perhaps a centimeter before stopping as if it had struck the core of a star. For one perfect moment, the Captain General of the Custodian Guard stands frozen in tableau, the finest warrior humanity has ever produced, locked in futile combat against rage incarnate. The Hulk looks down at this tiny figure who has dared to wound it, and for the first time, something like genuine respect flickers in those alien eyes. This mortal has shown courage beyond the merely heroic, loyalty beyond the simply fanatical. He represents everything worthy in the species that is about to die. The creature's hand descends with gentle precision, fingers closing around Valoris with the care of a craftsman handling a precious artifact. For a moment, human and monster regard each other across an impossible gulf of scale and understanding. You fought well, the Hulk says, its voice carrying harmonics that make reality shiver. The first words it has spoken since entering this system, and they are offered in recognition of courage deserving respect. Then its fingers close, and the last light of the Adeptus Custodes dies in silence. Alone now except for Korath, Vex stands in the ruins of humanity's greatest achievements. Around them, the Imperial Palace collapses into warp-touched madness, its sacred halls becoming hunting grounds for demons that pour through widening rifts in reality. Above them, Terra's sky burns with colors that have no names, showing glimpses of the hell that waits to consume the galaxy. The creature turns its attention to these final witnesses, an inquisitor and his aide, the last loyal servants of an empire that no longer exists. Its alien intelligence studies them with the detached interest of a scholar examining specimens. Why do you not flee? It asks, its voice carrying the weight of collapsing stars. Your species shows remarkable courage, but also practical intelligence. Why remain when escape might still be possible? Vex finds his voice despite the cosmic horror that looms above them. His augmetic eye continues recording, capturing every detail for whatever remnant might survive to remember how it ended. Because someone must witness, he replies, surprised by the steadiness of his own words. Someone must remember how humanity died. How our courage became our doom. How our greatest strength fed our ultimate enemy. The creature considers this, its burning eyes showing something that might be approval. Wisdom in the face of ending. Your species possesses qualities worthy of preservation in memory, even if not in flesh. Around them, reality convulses as the Hulk's presence rewrites the fundamental laws of existence. Space-time bends like heated metal, causality becomes negotiable, the very concept of sequential events breaks down under the weight of transcendent fury. But the creature's rage is no longer random or chaotic. It has learned, adapted, evolved beyond mere destruction into something far more dangerous, intelligent annihilation with perfect understanding of its target's weaknesses. "You study us," Vex observes, his inquisitorial training allowing him to analyze even cosmic threats. "This isn't just random violence. You're learning how to destroy civilizations efficiently." "Correct." The Hulk's acknowledgement carries no malice, only the calm certainty of a natural force. "Your species will not be the last I encounter. Each victory teaches me more about effective conquest. Your courage has provided instructive data." The implications hit Vex like a physical blow. This creature isn't just humanity's destroyer, it's preparing to apply the lessons learned from their extinction to every other species it encounters. Their heroism, their tactical doctrines, their very determination to fight the impossible, all of it has become intelligence that will doom countless worlds yet to be discovered. They have not just failed to save humanity, they have doomed the galaxy. The creature begins to move, its massive form turning away from the ruins of the throne chamber toward the palace's inner sanctums, where the Emperor's most sacred relics wait, where the deepest secrets of human civilization lie stored in vaults that have remained sealed since the dark age of technology. "Where are you going?" Koroth asks, her young voice carrying the weight of species-wide despair. The Hulk pauses, looking back at these final witnesses with alien eyes that now hold complete understanding of human nature. "To complete the lesson. To learn what made your species believe it could rule the stars. To understand the source of your strength so that future conquests may be optimized." It continues its march toward humanity's greatest secrets, each step rewriting reality around its passage. Behind it, Vex and Koroth follow at a distance, the last witnesses to the final education of a cosmic destroyer that will carry the knowledge of humanity's weaknesses to every world it encounters. The lesson in efficient annihilation has begun, and Terra serves as its classroom. The Sanctum Imperialis opens before the creature like a flower blooming in reverse, petals of blessed adamantium peeling back to reveal the rotting heart within. Vex follows at a respectful distance, his augmetic eye recording humanity's final violation as the Hulk phases through barriers that have protected the Emperor's most sacred secrets for 10 millennia. Each defense system, wardstones carved by primarchs, blessed machinery that has hummed with power since the Great Crusade, psychic barriers maintained by the sacrifice of 10,000 psychers daily, simply ceases to function in the creature's presence. "The deepest vaults," Koroth whispers beside him, consulting readings that make no sense according to any known science. It's heading for the foundations of the palace itself, where the oldest secrets are kept. They descend through levels that predate the Imperium, past chambers filled with archaeotech that could reshape galaxies, through corridors lined with stasis pods containing wonders and horrors from humanity's golden age. The creature ignores them all, its alien intelligence focused on something far more significant. At the heart of the Sanctum Imperialis, beyond doors that have remained sealed since the Emperor first walked among men, lies the Chamber of Origins. Here, according to legends whispered only among the highest ranks of the Adeptus Custodes, rest the artifacts that made humanity's dominion over the stars possible. The true source of the species' strength. The final door stands 30 meters tall, carved from a single piece of wraithbone and inscribed with words and languages that predate human civilization. Even the Hulk pauses before this barrier, studying the ancient scripts with newfound understanding of their significance. "Beware," the inscriptions read in High Gothic, though Vex-enhanced linguistics detect older meanings beneath the translation. "Here lie the tools of gods. Here rest the weapons that shaped eternity. Here sleeps the knowledge that doomed the first children of Terra to greatness." The creature places one massive hand against the door, and 10,000 years of accumulated sanctity simply ends. Not destroyed or bypassed, but edited out of existence as if it had never been. The chamber beyond is revealed in all its terrible glory. Within, golden light emanates from artifacts that predate human understanding. Not the warm radiance of the Emperor's presence, but something older, more fundamental, the light of creation itself, captured and contained by science so advanced it appears indistinguishable from magic. At the chamber's center stands the Golden Throne's true heart, not the massive life support system that has sustained the Emperor's body, but the original device from which all human psychic technology descended. A construct of impossible beauty, its crystalline structure containing the compressed essence of a dying star, shaped by minds that viewed reality as a rough draft to be endlessly revised. The star heart of Terra, Vex breathes, recognizing the device from the most classified archives of the Ordo Malleus. The Emperor's first creation. The prototype for every psychic amplifier, every warp drive, every technology that made our expansion into the stars possible. The Hulk studies the artifact with the focused attention of a scholar examining the key to universal understanding. Its burning eyes trace the crystalline lattices that channel power beyond mortal comprehension, analyzing construction techniques that could reshape the fundamental forces of reality. Around the star heart, lesser artifacts rest in stasis fields that have maintained them since before humanity left Earth's cradle. STCs containing the blueprints for technologies that could build or destroy civilizations. Data cores holding the accumulated wisdom of races that ruled the galaxy before mankind was even a dream. Weapons that could edit the past itself to ensure their wielder's victory. Why show me this? The creature asks, its voice carrying harmonics that make the chamber's walls resonate with sympathetic vibrations. Your species keeps its greatest secrets here, yet you lead me directly to them. Vex finds himself speaking words he doesn't consciously choose, because someone must understand what dies with us. Because our failure should at least serve as education. Because. He pauses, struggling to articulate thoughts his enhanced mind can barely process. Because you were right. We studied warfare, not wisdom. We built an empire on strength, not understanding. The Hulk nods, a gesture somehow terrible in its humanity. Your species reached for godhood through conquest rather than comprehension. You found tools that could reshape reality and used them to enforce your will upon the galaxy. Power without purpose. Strength without insight. It reaches toward the star heart with careful precision, massive fingers tracing the device's crystalline structure without quite touching. Even transcendent fury shows respect for something that contains the compressed power of stellar formation. This device, the creature continues, its alien intelligence processing technologies beyond human understanding, could have elevated your species beyond physical limitations entirely. Instead, you used it to bind one individual to eternal torment, sustaining an empire built on suffering and sacrifice. The accusation hangs in the recycled air like poison gas. Through his augmetic eye, Vex sees the truth that Imperial doctrine has spent 10,000 years obscuring. The Golden Throne isn't a life support system, it's a prison. The Emperor hasn't been guiding humanity from his throne, he's been trapped there, his power channeled through technologies he created but could no longer control. The Imperium, Vex realizes with growing horror, isn't his empire. It's his cage. Correct. The creature's confirmation carries weight that makes reality shiver. Your species' greatest leader became its eternal prisoner, his power harvested to maintain a civilization built on ignorance and oppression. The irony is instructive. Around them, the other artifacts begin to resonate with the Hulk's presence. Data cores that have slept since the dark age of technology suddenly blaze with activity, their stored knowledge interfacing directly with the creature's transcendent consciousness. In moments, it absorbs the accumulated wisdom of civilizations that spanned galaxies. But the knowledge brings no joy, only deeper understanding of the patterns it has witnessed across the cosmos. species after species, reaching toward transcendence only to fall into the trap of confusing power with wisdom, strength with understanding. You are not the first, the creature tells them, its voice carrying sadness that spans geological ages. Across the galaxy, in systems beyond your knowledge, I have witnessed the death of countless civilizations. Each one follows the same pattern: initial promise, rapid expansion, the discovery of power beyond their comprehension, and finally, the inevitable collapse into tyranny and stagnation. Vex feels ice forming in his enhanced spine as the full scope of their situation becomes clear. How many? Thousands. Perhaps tens of thousands. Your species was merely the most recent to confuse dominion with enlightenment. The Hulk's burning eyes survey the chamber's artifacts with something approaching pity. Each civilization believes itself unique, special, destined for greatness. All follow identical paths to identical endings. The creature begins to move among the artifacts, studying each one with alien intelligence that processes their function and potential in mere seconds. Not to steal or destroy them, but to understand how tools of transcendence become instruments of oppression. Why? Koroth asks, her young voice carrying the weight of species-wide despair. If you understand us so well, if you've seen this pattern repeat across the galaxy, why continue? Why destroy rather than enlighten? The Hulk pauses, massive head turning toward this final questioner. For a moment, something almost human flickers in those cosmic eyes. Because rage is easier than hope. Because destruction requires no faith in better possibilities. Because it trails off, studying her with newfound interest. Because I have forgotten why I began. The admission hangs in the chamber like a revelation. This creature, this cosmic force that has devoured star systems and transcended physical law, is as trapped by its nature as the Emperor was by the Golden Throne. Its infinite fury has become its own prison, binding it to endless cycles of destruction without purpose or resolution. In the sudden silence, Vex understands the final tragedy. They face not an evil destroyer, but something far worse, a force that has lost its reason for existing, driven by rage so ancient it has forgotten its own origins. The Hulk destroys because destruction is all it remembers how to do. The creature reaches out toward the Starheart once more, its massive form casting shadows that seem to extend beyond the physical chamber into dimensions human perception cannot process. If it claims this artifact, the source of humanity's expansion into the stars, it will gain not just power but understanding of how to break other species' attempts at transcendence. The final lesson in efficient civilization killing is about to be learned, and Terra's greatest secret will become the galaxy's ultimate weapon. In the distance, something that might be hope or might be memory stirs in the creature's ancient consciousness, too faint to change its course but strong enough to suggest that endings need not always be inevitable. The choice approaches: claim the knowledge that will perfect its destructive mission, or remember what it might have been before rage consumed all other possibilities. The Starheart of Terra pulses with the rhythm of dying suns, its crystalline structure containing power that could birth or destroy galaxies. In its radiance, the Hulk's green flesh takes on qualities that human perception struggles to process, simultaneously solid and ethereal, matter and energy, real and transcendent. Vex watches through his failing augmetic eye as the creature extends one massive finger toward the artifact's surface. The space between flesh and crystal shrinks to mere millimeters, reality warping around the convergence of forces that should not coexist in the same dimension. "Don't," he says, the word escaping before conscious thought can stop it. The Hulk pauses, its burning eyes turning toward this final witness with something that might be curiosity. "You would stop me? You, who have seen your species' greatest champions fall like wheat before the harvest?" "No." Vex's enhanced voice carries harmonics of despair that make the chamber's walls resonate. "I can't stop you. But I can ask you to remember." "Remember what?" "Why you began." Before the rage. Before the endless cycle of destruction. There was something else, wasn't there? Some purpose that brought you into existence beyond mere annihilation. The creature's form wavers, its transcendent nature flickering between states as ancient memories stir in consciousness older than civilizations. For a moment, Vex sees flashes of what it might have been, a champion of justice, perhaps, or a protector of the innocent. Something noble, before fury consumed all other possibilities. The Hulk's voice carries undertones of confusion, as if it's accessing memories that have been buried beneath eons of rage. There was someone. Small. Vulnerable. They called my name, and I came to help them. Around them, the artifacts in the Chamber of Origins respond to the creature's emotional turmoil. Data cores flicker with sympathetic resonance. Stasis fields waver as the Hulk's power signature becomes unstable. The star heart itself begins to pulse faster, its crystalline matrix reflecting the conflict raging within transcendent consciousness. But that was before, the creature continues, its voice hardening as fury reasserts control. Before I learned that help is temporary, but destruction is eternal. Before I understood that protecting the innocent only delays their eventual corruption. Korath steps forward, her young face illuminated by the artifact's golden radiance. Then why continue? If you know the pattern, if you've seen it repeat across thousands of worlds, why not break the cycle? The question hangs in the chamber like a physical presence. For the first time since entering this system, the Hulk shows genuine uncertainty. Its massive form trembles as competing imperatives war within its consciousness, the ancient drive to protect and the learned certainty that protection is futile. Because it struggles with concepts its rage-dominated mind can barely process. Because hope is the cruelest lie of all. I have seen species reach for transcendence only to fall into tyranny. I have watched protectors become oppressors, champions become tyrants. Better to end them quickly than watch them corrupt themselves slowly. But you're corrupted too, Vex realizes with sudden clarity. You've become what you once fought against. A force of oppression disguised as mercy. A tyrant who rules through destruction rather than law. The accusation strikes home with force that makes reality shudder. The Hulk's burning eyes widen as it confronts a truth that eons of rage have hidden from its consciousness. It has become the very thing it once opposed, a cosmic destroyer that imposes its will through overwhelming force. I am not. It begins, then stops, alien intelligence processing the undeniable logic. Every civilization it has destroyed, every world it has sterilized, every act of cosmic violence, all committed in the name of preventing worse atrocities. All justified by the certainty that destruction is more merciful than corruption. But mercy imposed through annihilation is still tyranny. The creature's form begins to destabilize as competing aspects of its nature war for dominance. The protective champion it once was battles against the cosmic destroyer it has become, neither able to achieve complete victory. Power leaks from its transcendent form in waves that make the chamber's ancient machinery scream warnings. You could choose differently, Korath says, her voice barely audible above the rising harmonic resonance of overstressed reality. You could remember what you were meant to be. And then what? The Hulk's response carries the weight of geological despair. Watch this galaxy follow the same path as all the others. See new civilizations rise only to fall into the same patterns of oppression and decay. Live with the knowledge that every act of mercy only delays inevitable suffering. Yes, Vex says simply. Because the alternative is to become the very evil you sought to prevent. The truth of it hits the creature like a physical blow. Its massive form staggers backward, power fluctuations threatening to tear holes in spacetime itself. Around them, The Chamber of Origins resonates with sympathetic vibrations as one of the universe's fundamental forces confronts its own corruption. In that moment of cosmic uncertainty, something else stirs. Not in the chamber, but in the depths of space beyond Terra's atmosphere. The warp storms that have consumed the planet's sky begin to coalesce around a new presence, something vast and malevolent that has been watching this confrontation with growing interest. The dark gods of chaos have taken notice. Korn, whose gifts of rage have fed the creature's power. Sench, whose schemes encompass the fall of civilizations. Nurgle, whose entropy follows in destruction's wake. Slaanesh, whose excess finds pleasure in ultimate endings. All four focus their attention on this moment of cosmic choice. They whisper through dimensions, their voices carrying promises of power, purpose, and the perfect justification for eternal destruction. They offer to make the creature their champion, to give its rage divine sanction and unlimited scope. No more questioning, no more uncertainty, only the pure clarity of serving entropy itself. The Hulk feels their presence pressing against its consciousness like oil on water, offering solutions to the existential crisis that threatens to tear it apart. Serve chaos. And never again face the burden of choice. Embrace destruction as sacred duty, and find peace in purposeful annihilation. No, it says, the word-carrying force that banishes demon princes and makes greater demons flee back to the warp. I will not be anyone's weapon. Not yours, not theirs, not even my own rage. The rejection sends shockwaves through the Imperium as the dark gods recoil from unexpected defiance. But their withdrawal leaves a void that the creature's destabilizing power rushes to fill. Without external focus for its transcendent fury, the Hulk begins to collapse in on itself. Reality warps around the implosion as power beyond comprehension seeks new equilibrium. The Chamber of Origins groans under pressures that make nuclear forces look like gentle breezes. Ancient artifacts crack under the strain of containing energies that exist beyond normal spacetime. It's going to explode, Korath realizes with growing terror. The power feedback could destroy the entire system. But even as the creature's form destabilizes, even as cosmic forces tear at the fabric of existence itself, something else begins to emerge. Not destruction, but potential. Not ending, but the possibility of beginning again. The Hulk's burning eyes focus on Vex with desperate intensity. If I choose differently, what becomes of the knowledge? What prevents the patterns from repeating? Vex feels the weight of the question like a physical force. The creature is offering him a choice that could reshape the galaxy's future, preserve the knowledge that could doom countless civilizations, or watch it die with humanity's destroyer. His augmetic eye continues recording, capturing every detail of this moment when the fate of existence hangs on the decision of a single mortal man. The irony is profound. The Inquisitor who has spent his life fighting threats to humanity now holds the key to the galaxy's salvation in his enhanced hands. The choice approaches, and with it, the possibility that endings need not always be inevitable. In the distance, reality holds its breath.